welcome everyone to another video lecture series on mathematics. So today's discussion will be on functions. Now, let us first define what a function is, and eventually we will be building up on the properties of functions and the operations on functions. Okay, so to start off, let's define two sets sets A and B, and these sets are have to be non-empty sets. So looking at this illustration, suppose this figure here represents our set A, and the dots here represents the elements of set A, and the second figure here represents our set B, and both of these two are required to be non-empty sets. Now, a function f from A to B is said to be a rule that associates each element in set A to a unique element in set B. So this association is actually referred to as the mapping of elements in A to elements in B. That is why this mapping is represented by this arrow. Now suppose, for example, this would be our first unique element in F, or an element of F that is mapped to a point on set B, a unique element in set B. Now this association is what we call a function, and is denoted by this symbol. This is read as the function from A to B, or a function is a mapping from A to B. Now, the function or mapping from A to B is said to be a subset M of the Cartesian product between A and B. If you recall from the previous video lecture, it was presented there the definition of a cross product or a Cartesian product between two sets. Okay, so I suggest that you recall if you are or watch the previous video lecture if you are not able to understand fully the definition of the Cartesian product. Okay, so again, the function or mapping from A to B is the subset M of the Cartesian product between A and B, such that for every x element in A, there is a unique y element in B, forming the ordered pair x and y, which are elements in M, which is a subset of the Cartesian product between A and B. Now, the elements in A that are mapped to B by the function f is referred to as the domain of f. So, again, the elements of A, meaning with reference to the first set, the elements here of our set A, this set is referred to as the domain of f. While the elements of B, with reference to the second set, associated by the function, is referred to as the range of f. So the elements contained in A is the domain of f. The elements contained in B is the range of f. Okay, so the following are the formal definitions of the domain and the range. So the domain of f is equal to all x such that f of x is an element of B, while the range of f is the set y such that there is a unique element x such that y is equal to f of x. Okay, so at this point, let us define what we call one-to-one function. A function f of A into B is said to be one-to-one if different elements of A are mapped by f to different elements of B. So that is whenever x sub 1, which is an element of A, is not equal to x sub 2, then f of x sub 1 is not equal to f of x sub 2. Okay, so perhaps we could make use of an illustration to further understand the definition of a one-to-one function. Okay, so here in the illustration, we have 4 sets that are set in our row. So we have set A, set B, set C, set D. Each of these sets in between have the mapping or have the functions f, g, and h. Okay, so where in f is the mapping between A and B, G is the mapping between B and C, and H is the mapping between C and D. Now the question here is, which of the following functions f, g, and h are or is said to be one-to-one? Now from the definition, what is meant by x sub 1 not equal to x sub 2 means that each of the values of x sub 1, x sub 2, or so on are uniquely determined such that f of x sub 1, which are mappings of x sub 1 to f to the mappings of elements of the first set towards the second set, such that f of x sub 1 is not equal to f of x sub 2 means that the mapping is unique from the elements of the previous set towards the elements of the second set. So that means if you have an arrow from directed from one unique element in A, it should be pointing towards one unique element in the second set, such as set B. Now try to notice between the mapping between A and B. A is mapped to 2, but also C is also mapped to 2, which means that although A and C are unique elements, x sub 1 is not equal to x sub 2, but we can see that the mapping towards B is not unique since you have f of A equal to f of C, and both of these two are equal to 2. Therefore, it does not satisfy the definition of the one-to-one function. Therefore, f is not one-to-one. Now, try to consider the mapping from B to C. Notice that the element 1 in B is mapped to Y. The unique element in 2 is mapped to X. The unique element 3 is mapped to W. So, since each of the unique elements in B are mapped to unique elements in C, none of them are repeated. Therefore, it satisfies the condition that whenever x sub 1 is not equal to x sub 2, f of x sub 1 is not equal to f of x sub 2. Therefore, G is said to be a one-to-one function. Okay, so let's try to analyze the last function, function h. Again, we try to notice that the element x in C is mapped to 4. The same goes with z, which is also mapped to 4. Therefore, it does not satisfy the condition that whenever x sub 1 is not equal to x sub 2, f of x sub 1 is not equal to x sub 2, since we have a repeated mapping between x to 4 and z to 4. So therefore, h is not a one-to-one function. Okay, so again, this is the formal reason. Note that the function is one-to-one whenever x sub 1 is not equal to x sub 2, such that f of x sub 1 is not equal to f of x sub 2. The function f is not one-to-one since f of A is equal to f of C is equal to 2. And the same goes with the function h. The function h is also not one-to-one since f of x or h of x is equal to h of z, which is equal to 4. The function g is the only function in the illustration that is one-to-one, satisfying the condition for the definition of a one-to-one function. Okay, so let's have further exercises for the definition of a one-to-one function. So let's have the first example, letter A. Now, to each person on Earth assigns the number which corresponds to his age in years. So let us try to understand this, if this is really a one-to-one function. Now, the two sets being mapped here, first is the set of all persons on Earth, and the second set, which is the age of those persons defined in years. So if we let, for example, the set P be equal to the set of all persons on Earth, and set A be the age of all those persons, then we define the mapping from P to A. Now, the mapping from P to A is not one-to-one, since there is a possibility that there are persons would having the same age. So therefore, just like what we have said earlier in the illustration, if there are mappings that are pointing towards the same value, then it does not satisfy the condition, the second condition in the definition. Therefore, it does not qualify as a one-to-one function. Okay, so let's have exercise letter D. Now, to each country in the world assigns the latitude and longitude of its capital. Now, if we let capital C as the capital of each country, L would be the latitude and longitude combination. Then we have the mapping C to A, C to L. Now, the mapping C to L is or qualifies to be a one-to-one function. Why? Since different country capitals are at different locations around the globe, located by a unique pair of longitude and latitude on a map. No two capitals have the same pair of longitude and latitude. Therefore, the pairing between the specific or unique capital of a country towards its location represented by the combination of numbers representing the latitude and longitude are unique. So therefore, this qualifies, the mapping from C to L qualifies as a one-to-one function. Now, let's have letter C. To each book written by only one author assigns the author. Now, if you let B as equal to the book and A be the author of the book, then we have the mapping from B to A. Now, the mapping B to A is not a one-to-one function. Why? It is because since one author could write several books, so therefore this does not qualify as a one-to-one function. Now, letter D. To each country in the world which has a prime minister assigned its prime minister. Now let us take C as the country and P would be the prime minister, and thus we have the mapping from C to P. Now, the mapping from C to P is of course is a one-to-one function, since different countries having a prime minister has a unique prime minister. No two countries have the same prime minister. So this qualifies therefore as a one-to-one function. Okay, so let's now proceed with the second type of function, the onto function. Now, an onto function or a function f is said to be onto if for each element y in B there exists x element in x such that x is mapped to B with f of x equal to y. Okay, so to further understand the definition, let us take an illustration and a few examples. So let's have the illustration here. Which of the functions f, g, and h from the previous example are said to be an onto function? Okay, so from the previous illustration, again we have the four sets arranged in a row, and we have the following functions: mapping from A to B as f, the mapping from B to C as g, and the mapping from C to D as h. Okay, so going back to the definition of an onto function, note that a function is onto if every y element in the second set has a mapping from the previous set A, for example. Then the function f is the function f is not onto, since no elements in A is mapped to the element 3 located in the second set B. Looking back at the illustration, take note that all of the elements in A, B, and C has a mapping in B, 1 and 2, but since the element 3 in B is left out, no mapping is assigned to 3. Therefore, the function f is not an onto function. Going back to the definition, the onto function is defined as a function f is said to be onto if for each y, meaning all of the elements in B, should have a unique element assignment from X. This means that if you have a mapping from A to B, all elements in B should have a mapping from the previous set element from the previous set A. Therefore, f does not qualify as an onto function. Okay, so the same goes with set G. Set G is not an onto function since the element Z in our set C is left out. No mapping is assigned to Z from the set B. So therefore, G does not also qualify as an onto function. Now, taking note of set function H or the mapping H, since all of the elements in D has a unique assignment or has an assignment from set C, therefore this qualifies as an onto function. Now take note that it doesn't necessarily require that the assignment to the set D is unique. So meaning there can be multiple assignments or mapping from C to D. This also qualifies as an onto function. Okay, so let's take on several examples for the onto function. Now suppose we have the following sets. Set A has the following elements 1, 2, and 5. Set B has the elements 3, 7, 9, 10, and 12. Now let us define the mapping function f as the mapping from A to B. Now suppose f of 1 is equal to 3. So what is meant by f of 1 is equal to 3 means that the mapping from A to B, the assignment of 1 is mapped to the element 3. Now f of 2 is equal to 10, so the second element of A is mapped to 10, and f of 5 is mapped to 2. Okay, the question now is f 1 to 1? The second question is f an onto function? Now the answer is the function f is 1 to 1 but not onto. Okay, so going back to the definition, a one-to-one function means that there is a unique assignment of all the elements from the previous set towards the second set. Now, if you recall from the illustration, f here is not one-to-one since there you have two mappings or two assignments of A towards the element 2 in B. So therefore, f is not one-to-one. Going back in the solution for the example, since you have an assignment of each element of A towards unique elements in B, therefore this function f, a mapping from A to B, is one-to-one. But the function f is not onto. Now the reason why that f is not onto, since you have elements in B that has no mapping from the elements in A. So there are elements in B that are left out. So therefore, f is not an onto function. Okay, so let's have number 2. Given the function f of x is equal to x cubed plus 1, and has the function f is defined from R to R, meaning the set of real numbers towards the set of real numbers. Now the question again is f 1 to 1? Or the second question is f onto? Now if we assign the following elements x of 1 and x of 2 as elements in R, and suppose f of x of 1 is equal to f of x of 2, Then if we plug in these values in our given equation, what happens to our equation is that this becomes x sub 1 cube plus 1 equal to x sub 2 cube plus 1. Now, if we're going to cancel out 1 from both sides of the equation, then we can conclude that x sub 1 cube is equal to x sub 2 cube, and x sub 1 is equal to x sub 2 if we take the cube root of each both sides of the equal sign. Now, what is meant by this result is that the function f is 1 to 1, since the result is that you have x sub 1 equal to x sub 2, which indicates that x sub 1 and x sub 2 is one and the same element in R, and therefore is a unique element in R. Again, the result means that x sub 1 is x sub 2. Since x sub 1 is equal to x sub 2, that means we are referring to only a single element in R. And that means that this is a unique element in R. It follows that if truly that x sub 1 is not equal to x sub 2, and x sub 1 and x sub 2 are unique elements in R, then f of x sub 1 is not equal to f of x sub 2, which satisfies the condition for a one-to-one function. Now, the function f is also onto, since it is possible for the cube root of every unique element in R to be extracted as shown. Now, suppose we let y equal to the original expression x cubed plus 1. Then if we're going to extract a value for x, then this would result to a unique value for x for each unique value of y. Now, further analysis of the possible results of x suggests that x is an element of R, and therefore the function f is onto. Okay, so let's have the third example. Given f of x is equal to x squared, and we have the mapping of f defined from R to R. Now again, is f 1 to 1? Is f on 2? Okay, so just like what we have done earlier, what we can do is that we let x sub 1 and x sub 2 be arbitrary elements of R, and suppose f of x sub 1 is equal to f of x sub 2. Then clearly, f of x sub 1 square is equal to f sub 2 square. Extracting the square root of both sides, we have x sub 1 is we have x sub 1 and x sub 2. Now take note, x sub 1 is not equal to x sub 2. The reason is, whenever you extract the square root of two numbers, the result of that extraction of the square root results into two possible values, one positive and one negative. So obviously we cannot equate x sub 1 with x sub 2, since it's possible to choose a positive value for x sub 1 and a negative value for x sub 2, which is obviously not equal. Okay, so extracting the roots on both sides does not necessarily result into equal values of x. Example, square root of 4. This results to either positive 2 or negative 2. Therefore, f is not 1 to 1. The function f is also not onto, since it's possible to have a value square root of negative 1, which is not an element of R. Square root of negative 1 is an imaginary number, so it is an element outside R. Okay, so this is now what you see here is the student handout. Okay, so what is discussed here is also what was discussed earlier on the definition of a function. Now let's try to check out the further definitions of the domain and the range. Okay, so what is meant by the domain and what is meant by the range is that this refers to the elements of one of the sets being mapped together. So when you have a mapping, for example, from A to B, the set of all elements in A is said to be the domain of F, while the set of elements in the second set wherein this set receives the mapping from A to B, meaning the set of elements in B, this set of elements is called the range of F, or the image of F. Okay, so let's try to have a few examples and try to determine what would be the domain and the range of the following function. So let's have f of x is equal to x squared minus 1 over x plus 1. Okay, so let's have that one. F of x is equal to x squared minus 1 over x plus 1. Now, take note that this is in fraction form. Therefore, we cannot have an undefined form of this fraction. So that means if you have a denominator of x plus 1, it's obvious that we cannot let x equal to negative 1, since that would result into an undefined form of our function. But take note of the form of the numerator. The numerator has the form x squared minus 1, which is a difference between two squares. And if you recall from your algebra, the difference of two squares can be factored into two binomials. One would be x minus 1, and the other one would be x plus 1. Performing that, we can have the form of the original function as x plus 1 over x plus 1 times x minus 1 over x plus 1. Now notice that we can cancel x plus 1 from the result, resulting into the form of the function f of x equal to x minus 1. Now, since we already eliminated the possibility of having an undefined form of the fraction, try to notice that we can now assign the value 1 and negative 1 in the resulting function. If we assign 1 here, then x minus 1 results into 0, and that is a valid value for f of x. Also, originally, in our form of the function, we cannot actually assign negative 1 in the original function, since that would result into an undefined form. But since we modified a bit the original function into x minus 1, then we can now assign actually negative 1 in our x. Doing that, negative 1 minus negative 1, or negative 1 minus 1, is equal to negative 2, and that is a valid value for f of x. Now, trying to answer the question, what would be the domain and what would be the range of our function? The domain of the function is the set R. Obviously, any value for x can be assigned, or any value from R can be assigned in x. You can assign 0, you can assign positive integers, positive rational numbers. You can also assign negative integers, negative real numbers in x. And the range of the function, meaning the resulting values for f of x whenever we assign x, are also elements in R. So which means that the range of the function is also in R. Okay, so let's have the second example. We have g of x is equal to square root of 3x plus 1. Okay, so let's have g of x equal to square root of 3x plus 1. Now, notice that if we're going to plug in experimenting on the values that we can assign for x. So suppose, for example, we assign x equal to 0, then we can have the result 3 times 0 is 0 plus 1, you have square root of 1. And obviously square root of 1 results into two values, one positive 1 and one negative 1, and this is a valid result for g of x. So therefore, we can assign 0 as an element of our domain. Now suppose we assign, for example, fractions in our x, such as if we let x equal to 1/3. So plugging in 1/3 in our function, we have 3 times 1/3 plus 1. So this results into 1 plus 1, that gives us 2. And square root of 2 is a value that is in R. So both positive and negative of square root of 2 is a value in R. So therefore, an assignment of a fraction in our function is valid. Now suppose we assign a negative number in our function, such as a number negative 1. So this would result into 3 times negative 1, that would be negative 3, plus 1, that would be negative 2. Obviously, the extracting the root of negative 2 results into an imaginary number. An imaginary number which is outside R. So it follows, if this result actually generalizes every negative number that can be assigned to our x. So therefore, we cannot actually assign any negative number in x. So the question now is, what would be our domain for the given function g, and what would be our range? The domain of the function is the set of all non-negative real numbers. Since we can assign 0, 0 is a non-negative real number. We can assign fractions, we can assign rational numbers. Therefore, our domain is the set of all non-negative real numbers, while our range would be the function of the function would be the all elements in R. Why is it that the range of the function is R? Since the result results into either positive or negative, then we can have actually the whole range of R as all possible values of the result of g of x. So therefore, the range is R. Okay, so finally we have the third example. We have h of x equal to x squared plus 1 over x plus 1. Okay, so h of x equals x squared plus 1 over x plus 1. Okay, so what would be the domain and what would be the range? Well, the domain of the function is the set R, except x equals negative 1, and the range of the function is also R.